Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our Earth has completed 361 revolutions around its own axis and almost completed one complete turn around our star, the Sun. I'm here in America. It's a cold afternoon, but not terribly cold. It's just about -8 Celsius. Bright sunlight, birds on my feeder, squirrels on the ground, doves on the ground, and Alhamdulillah, all is right with the world. I want to remind myself and you that in life, only overcomers are rewarded. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who rewards effort, but not this world. In this world, you get rewarded for results only. Overcomers, those who overcome challenges, overcomers are rated not by their effort, but by the challenge they overcame. The bigger the challenge, the greater the honor of overcoming it. To give you an example, Mount Everest is 8 kilometers high. If I walk 10 kilometers and claim that I should be given an award because I walked more than Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, who were perhaps the first people to climb to the peak of Everest, people will laugh at me. If I try to argue and say that they and I both walked on the earth, people will laugh even louder. Because it is not the distance on earth, but the angle of the earth, which makes their feat memorable and inspirational. If they had tried to climb but failed to reach the peak, nobody would have remembered. If they had gone up in a helicopter and been dropped on the peak, it wouldn't count as scaling the mountain. The difficulty of the task is what makes it honorable and worthwhile. So, as we are here today, almost at the beginning of 2023, and we look around ourselves and we see all kinds of challenges. Global warming and what it has created in terms of extreme weather, hunger, poverty, violence, hatred being used specifically as a tool to gain political mileage, and the list is endless. When we look around ourselves and see all of these challenges, each one apparently more difficult than the other, ask yourself, what is my internal conversation with myself? What are you saying to yourself? So I invite you to listen to yourself. But to listen to yourself, you must switch off external noise that we have willingly inflicted on ourselves. You can listen to your heart or you can listen to your phone. You can't do both. So, what are you saying to yourself? Are you saying, I can succeed? Or are you saying, there's no point even in trying? Because look at the enormity of these challenges. I will surely fail. What are you saying to yourself? Now, think about this. Either of these statements or both these statements are not fact. If I say to myself, I will surely win, or if I say to myself, I cannot win, both are not fact. They are they are hopes. But for you, either one can come true depending on which one you want to use most often. My friend Dr. Fridolin Stari from Germany He said to me, in German, there is a saying which says, hope dies last. And that's a beautiful thought to carry in your mind, that as long as there is hope, there will be a way forward. We live on hope, and we must live on hope. Never give up hope, because we do not know what the future actually holds. What the future will hold is what you work towards. And what makes us work towards solutions to problems is hope. As Henry Ford famously said, if you say that you can succeed or can't succeed, if you say that you can succeed or you will fail, I believe you either way. So, my first question to you is to ask yourself, what are you saying to yourself inside? What are you saying to yourself inside here? That is where it begins. Mark Twain said, every man has two birthdays. And obviously, obviously this means every man or woman. He said every man has two birthdays. The day he was born and the day he discovers why. So sit in silence and ask yourself three questions. First question, why do I exist? Why am I here on this earth? Why do I exist? Second question, what will be lost and for whom when I leave this life? What will be lost and for whom when I leave this life? And the third one is, what am I doing to fulfill the reason I exist? Why do I exist? What will be lost and for whom when I cease to exist? And three, what am I doing to fulfill the reason I exist? Now remember that this can take a long time, but it is the most important thing that you can do. And this will give you the most powerful results going forward. It doesn't matter how old you are. What matters is if you want your life to be worthwhile or not. That will be your real birthday. Not the day you were born, but the day you discover why. A life lived to fulfill a great and noble purpose is the life of a human being. A life lived to fulfill every desire and whim and fancy is the life of an animal. We get to choose for ourselves. Very important, keep a writing pad and pencil, not pen. Keep a writing pad and pencil handy. Write down your thoughts about your purpose. I say pencil because you will want to erase some things and write them over. Do that, don't hesitate. Finally, get to a statement of not more than, say, 8 to 10 words, one line, which describes your purpose in a way that touches your heart, that brings tears to your eyes. I always say, if it can't make you cry, it can't make you work. So word it for yourself. You are the only one who is going to be affected by that and who needs to be affected by that. Now, don't try to do this thing on your devices, not your phone, not your iPad or something. Use paper and pencil. There is something about writing and how that invokes the power of the brain that does not happen with your phone or tablet. Write. That also distinguishes us from animals. Take as long as you need, but stick with it. Remember that constancy matters. Then, do three things in this order. Number one, keeping the purpose statement in front of you. Keep the statement in front of you. Write it down, put it on your wall. Keeping the statement in front of you, ask yourself, what are the three things that I need to do in order of priority to go forward? What are the three things that I need to do in order of priority to go forward. Remember that we are not looking at fulfilling the purpose as in end result. We are looking at the road, the process that will take us forward. If you are driving to a destination, to give you an example to illustrate, if you are driving to a destination to determine if you are going in the right direction, you don't look for signs of your ultimate destination. They may not even be there at the start. You look for signs for the first town on the way to your destination, then the next one, and the next one, and so on until you start seeing signs of your destination. So keep the purpose in front of you and ask, what is the first thing I need to do to achieve my purpose? That may be, for example, to change your wake up time, or your daily schedule, or your friends, usually all three, and also usually painful. That is why you need to keep the purpose in front of you. It will remind you that it is worth the pain. Number two, focus on one thing, on the first thing in your list. When you finish it, go to the next one, not before. If you get interrupted, return and complete the first task. Never skip a task on your priority list, no matter what the reason is. Eliminate the reasons that take you away from your priorities. Focus is the art of ignoring fluff. Multitasking is another word for distraction. When you focus on one thing, you must consciously ignore everything else. Go to YouTube and look up videos of leopards and lions hunting. See what concentration means. Leopards and lions learn the value of concentration early because without it they starve. Humans, on the other hand, discover the problem with not having concentration when at the end of their lives they look back and see all that they could have achieved if only. If only. The saddest words or the saddest phrase in any language is if only. Believe me, you don't want to go there. It is in your hands right now. So learn to concentrate. That is the secret of success in everything in life. Winners concentrate on one task until it is completed. Losers are like butterflies, flitting from flower to flower until they die, leaving nothing behind. The difference between winners and losers is concentration. If you have the concentration of a monkey, then life will only have peanuts for you. Thanks to the internet and our gadgets, we forget that only the means to access information have multiplied and changed. The law of learning has not changed. Like the law of gravity, it's a fundamental law. It never changes. The law of learning is that learning is a factor of sincerity, concentration, and perseverance. Sincerity, concentration, and perseverance. No matter what the means you use to access information, it turns into knowledge only after deep reflection, thoughtful practice, and conceptualizing the lessons. Then, when it is applied over time, long time usually, and the lessons are constantly learned, it flowers into wisdom. We confuse information with knowledge and don't even think about wisdom. That is why we make the same mistakes over and over and suffer needlessly. Forget gadgets and develop concentration. I do not know of one single individual, man or woman, who we respect and who is known to be somebody who was worthy of respect, who did not have concentration. Not one single one in the history of humankind. To give you an example, YouTuber Mr. Beast employs a team of 6 people to make thumbnails for his videos. The thumbnails are planned before the video is shot. It sounds crazy, but thumbnail quality is predictive of video performance. This is just a master perfecting his art, his craft. The result is that he has 112 million followers who help him to make $30 million a year. Remember that he can do this because he is not like his followers. He makes the videos which needs intense concentration, focus on quality, ruthless discipline, and the ability to stay in the game until the final result. He makes the videos for people whose attention span is equal to that of goldfish and monkeys. Without their willingness to donate their lives, which is their time, to his videos, Mr. Beast would be a poor man. Thank God for slaves and slavish minds. Ditto TikTok. Remember that you are on the wrong side of the screen. Think about this. When you are holding your phone or your tablet or whatever device, you are on the wrong side of the screen. On this side, you help others to succeed. If you want to succeed, I mean really succeed, not just talk about it, you need to get behind the screen and do something that is worth recording, something worthwhile. My brothers and sisters, today we live in times where a lack of concentration has been made into a virtue. Teachers, mentors, even parents are told that children listen in 10-second sound bites. You need to ask, whose children? Human children or monkey children? The reality is that concentration, like muscles, builds over time. If you raise your children to listen in 10-second sound bites, that is what you're going to get. Stop for a moment and ask how many of those same children who you claim cannot listen to anything beneficial and potentially life changing for longer than 10 seconds at a time are able to sit glued to the TV screen watching FIFA or Super Bowl or 2020 IPL cricket or whatever is their favorite drug for hours at a time, any time of the day or night. How does that happen? How does that work? So, is it about the ability to concentrate or the willingness? Willingness depends on the reason. If we see value in it, we can concentrate. What do we see value in? For which we are willing to pay with the only non renewable resource we have, time, also known as life, because death is when our time runs out. I told you this is going to be painful. Ask yourself, what are you really seeing here? You are watching the creation of slaves who will believe anything, are manipulable by those who can concentrate to fulfill their own goals at the expense of the slaves. Slavishness is a mentality. Ask yourself if you want that for yourselves and your children. If not, do something about it. Remember that the chains are in the mind. The cure is to decide what is good for you and to learn to do it. Remembering that everything new, without exception, is painful at first. Develop a gain mindset. Ask yourself after every transaction, everything that you spend time on, no matter how small or how short or long, ask yourself, what did I gain from this? What did I learn? It will change your life totally. Forget sacrifice. Forget the word sacrifice. The only sacrifice is what the tandoori chicken did for you. Everything else has a return. Forget sacrifice, think investment. Everything we do is a potential investment, investment in our own life. Then you will naturally think of ROI, return on investment. Sacrifice has no return. Investment has a return. If that's negative, move away from that and invest elsewhere. Point number 3, problem solving mindset. Master or victim. See what's in your control and do it. Don't get stuck with what you can't control. My favorite motto for myself is I will not allow what is not in my control to prevent me from doing what is in my control. I will not allow what is not in my control to prevent me from doing what is in my control. So don't get stuck with what you can't control. People sometimes look at the misery that surrounds us and they ask, why doesn't God do something? Why doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do something about all the sick and the dying and the starving people? The answer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did something already. He created you and gave you the means to feed at least one hungry person, to pay for the education of one child, to pay the hospital bill of one sick person, and so on. If you can't feed 100, feed one. If you cannot build a school, pay the fee of one child to go to school. It's a common cop out strategy to blame the external world, in this case Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for all the suffering that we see around us. Those who are serious about wanting to help don't blame but ask themselves, what can I do? That is what Islam teaches us, to do something, not to simply complain. Problems need solutions, not complaints. In the life of every man and woman comes a time when a window opens and they have the unique opportunity to make an impact and influence others. To succeed, we need to anticipate, prepare, and act with courage when the window opens. Our window of opportunity is open right now. Living life is about making choices. The choice to be a victim of circumstances or the choice to do something about circumstances and be their master. We are free to make this choice, to be a victim or to be a master. But the choices each has a different payoff in terms of its consequences. Both stances are subject to the same givens of society and the environment and organization and people and laws and so on, but have very different implications in terms of our development and happiness. It is one of the fallacies that people assume that freedom of choice means that the choice is free of consequences. This is a myth, and like all myths, it's a fantasy and a lie. We have freedom to choose, but every choice has a price tag. Foolish people make choices without first finding out the price and are then surprised and shocked and disappointed and depressed when the time comes to pay for the choice. Victims are people who complain about adversity and hardship and suffering or oppression. They think of excuses, they blame others, they lose hope, and they perish. Victims can be individuals or groups or communities or nations. The victim stance is the same: complain and blame someone else. When victims find themselves in difficulties, they look around for scapegoats, for someone to blame. They invent conspiracy theories. They like to live with a siege mentality. They try to tell everyone that the only reason they are in the mess is because everyone in the world is out to get them. They don't stop to think that no matter who they blame, their problems still exist, and that it is they and not whoever they blame that is suffering. Decide for yourself. If you want to be somebody who succeeds, or you want to be somebody who tells the world why you could not succeed. If this applies to you, wake up now. Masters, on the other hand, are people who, when faced with difficulty and adversity, look at themselves to see how they came to be in that situation in the first place. They own their responsibility and then they look for solutions to resolve that situation, to get out of that problem. They have the courage to try new ways and so they win even if they fail. Masters recognize that whatever happens to us is at least in part, if not wholly, a result of the choices that we made, consciously or unconsciously. The result of what we chose to do or chose not to do. This is powerful because if we recognize that we created the situation, then it follows logically that we can also create its solution. The characteristic of masters is that even when they may temporarily be in a victim situation, they quickly ask themselves the key question: okay, so what can I do about this situation? This question is the key to taking a masterful stance in life. This in itself is a tremendously empowering mindset which frees a person from the shackles of self limiting barriers to his or her development. A master never says, I can't. He or she says, I don't know if I can. Now, that is the truth. And in that is a world of difference. The difference between the shepherd and his sheep, between winners and losers. So ask yourself, in terms of the challenges that I face today, what do I need to do if I want to be a master and not a victim? What is the investment that I need to make to succeed? Free fall and flight feel the same in the beginning, but in the end, it is the end which spells the difference between life and death. Ignoring the law of gravity does not change the results. Similarly, in life, in our race to succeed, we may well be tempted to ignore the law of gain. That gain is directly proportionate to contribution. We may be tempted to buy the line that you can just grab something and whatever you grab is yours and you can take it no matter the consequences to others. Just as the one in free fall may thumb his nose at the one who's flying, even claiming that he's traveling faster than the flyer, the reality is that his speed is aided by gravity, which is rapidly pulling him towards his own destruction. It is not speed, therefore, which matters, it is the direction of flight and the way that ends. Compassion, concern for others, a service focus, measuring contribution in the same way that we measure profit, the willingness to do what it takes to deliver the best possible quality, not because someone is watching, but because we consider the quality of our output to be our signature and a reflection of our identity. All of these are the real pathways to wealth and influence and prosperity. The critical difference is that prosperity that comes in these ways is sustainable and long lasting and spreads goodness all around. Prosperity that is sought without regard to those who share the world with us people, animals, environment, and so on, without regard to values and ethics and morals, with the sole criterion being the amount of money that can be made, is short lived, has a high cost, and spreads misery and suffering, including for the one who is chasing it. In conclusion, I want to say to you, we live in an intensely connected world, and the sooner we realize that and start taking care of the connections, the better off we are likely to be. We have seen graphically the results of the alternative, which is blind pursuit of profit. In the words of my dear friend Professor Madhukar Shukla of XLRI Jamshedpur, he says, growth for the sake of growth is the philosophy of the cancer cell. Growth for the sake of growth is the philosophy of the cancer cell. I wish you all the very best in the coming year and in your life going forward. Thank you.